You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about what makes someone worthy of our trust. I'm Frankie.
And I am Matt, aka Stormageddon.
Back to our regularly scheduled programming, baby. Now that we've got a bunch of nonsense out of the way, we can tell Arl Eamon that we're ready to start the Landsmeet. Logain wastes no time in arriving at Eamon's doorstep to let us know he won't stand for our challenge to his authority. It's clear we need a better foothold in the city. Once Eamon leaves us to our own devices, we can finally handle our remaining companion quests and then embark on a mission to secure an unlikely ally. Disguises and treachery abound in this episode.
Yeah, I had not realized how much these order of events snowball until we started doing them. I just had forgotten how close together they were because I've only played through this game once. I don't love these missions. They're fine. Like the actual missions, which we'll get to because I know I have some companion stuff first. I don't know. They were fine. I have some complaints. We'll get to them. Though, after my fix last episode, adjusting the graphics for the game, I didn't have a single crash. So apparently all the crashes I've been having all this time is because the graphics were set too high. But my computer can handle it.
How dare you try to enjoy some good graphics?
Yeah, especially since my computer can handle it. I run Elden Ring without issue. So, like, it's not my computer. It's the game sucks at running its own graphics, which is
for sure.
Kind of hilarious.
Well, everything that has to do with Dragon Age is kind of hilarious, isn't it?
That's true. Hilarious or aggravating or sometimes both.
Isn't it the same thing after a while?
We have some minimal check-ins this time.
Yeah, nothing too big.
The first one I did was with Wynn. So we had talked briefly about before how Wynn objects to your relationship a little bit.
Yeah.
Talks about how you should be focused on your duty and that this could be a distraction. With me specifically, she talks about Zevran's nature and how, can we really trust him?
For me, it's about how, like, you're both wardens, you're going to have to make a decision, and, like, this could interfere with your ability to do the right thing.
And so when we talk to Wynn again now, Wynn actually apologizes. Wynn changed her mind after seeing us together more, realized that she was wrong to call out a relationship. It was unfair. And the way that we look at each other, like, she says that the way Zev looks at me, it's clear that he cares for me and that she had no right to say the things she said. And you can be snarky about it, but I just said, so you're apologizing? And she said, yes, I'm really sorry. And like, it felt pretty, like, at first I thought it was going to be kind of snarky and insincere, but it actually felt pretty sincere, at least when I talked to her.
Yeah, I got the same conversation where she was like, I've come around on this. Seeing the two of you in love actually is really inspiring. And the fact that you can find love and find beauty in a time that is so stressful and dark is really important. And no matter what happens, you will have had that.
Yeah.
And that's not nothing. And she's right when she says that. Like, that's the point of love. The point of love is not, necessarily the happily ever after.
Yeah.
Like, listeners may know by now that you and I used to date. And like, we didn't get the happily ever after that media sells us, but I think we got something better. Like, we got a lifelong friendship. You are never leaving my life, and I'm never leaving yours. And I think that the point of love is the experience.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think also movies now are better about it, but in the past we're very much like there's only romantic love. Familial love is not important unless you're watching a very family-focused movie. But like more recent Disney films and more recent main, like pop culture films are showing more familial love, friendship, and like that love can have many facets. And like when we were younger, we thought our love for each other was romantic. We learned after several years and some heartache that it wasn't. It was friendship and that we deeply cared for each other, but not in a romantic way. And I think part of not understanding that growing up is the way a lot of media depicts love is very binary when it's not. And I think what I love about this moment with Wynn is she seems to have a very binary, like, oh, you're in love, that's it. Like, this is going to ruin everything. But she realized that there's more to romantic love, but I think more to just caring for others in general, especially since the warden has shown care for all of the members of the team, depending on how you play. I guess you could not be good to them.
You could be a dick.
Right. But the way our wardens are, at least, like, we show a great love for all of our companions, except maybe Ogren. And so...
Ogren. I hate that guy.
But, like, it's cool that this conversation happens. It's very mature of Wynn and very kind of just a nice little capstone on, like, discussing our relationship with her.
Yeah. I know, I think it's really great, and she says things that I genuinely believe in as a person, like, especially as a polyamorous person. Not all of my relationships begin because I think they're going to end in the white picket fence and the 2.5 children or whatever it is. Like, I am already married to someone who I love deeply, so when I start another relationship, it's not because I think we're going to get married someday. It's because I cherish the experience that we're going to have together. And maybe it'll end in friendship, maybe it will keep going, but I won't know until I try.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just important to try.
Yeah, this game isn't great about showing all the facets of love, but it's not bad at it either.
For the time that it came out, I think it does a solid job.
Right, especially with characters like Alistair and Zev and a few others, like, or even Sten, like the way Sten comes around towards the end.
Yeah.
I appreciate him more now than I did the first time I played. And so, like, I think it does a decent job. I think there are games later that do a better job. I think the Mass Effect franchise as a whole does a better job with friendship, though it does still not recognize when its own characters are queer, which is a whole other problem.
You wrote a lesbian and you made her straight. What did you do?
Yeah. It's just like you made a pansexual alien being who's on death's door, who loves everyone, and made him locked into only a female romance. Dumb. Anyway. So yeah, no, I'm glad that we got to have this conversation. It's not the only conversation we got to have, though, because, of course, we talked to Morrigan. Morrigan has thoughts on other things and rarely keeps them to herself.
Oh, she's so funny about, like, so you and Alistair, huh? And she's just like, why?
Yeah.
And
Still doesn't like him.
A very funny conversation with her about it because she's like, he's so fucking dumb. And I'm like, I mean, he's an idiot, but he's my idiot.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's very good of you to claim him. No one else will. And I'm, well, yeah, I love him though. And she's like, yeah, I guess that's fine. Whatever. Just don't make me deal with it. Like, she's being very, like, black cat about it. Like, I'm too cool to acknowledge that love is real, but, like, yeah, whatever. I'm happy for you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the conversation I have, too.
Yeah.
Which is good to know that it's not just queer romance. It's literally all romance. Morrigan's not having it.
Yeah, she's just like, whatever.
And she also tells us what her plans are now that her mom's dead, quote unquote.
Yes. She's going to study the grimoire. She's going to make a plan. And if she can't figure out a way to defeat her mother's plans for her, she's just going to kill her mother again and again and again.
Yeah, so it's clear that Morrigan, even though grateful that we killed her mom, is not convinced she's dead. Like, not even for a minute. Like, even though we thought we killed her, depending on the path you took, she's like, no, she's probably not dead. And I'll figure something out.
You know, she gave us that up front. She was like, I mean, it's probably not going to stick, just so you know, but it'll help.
Yeah, exactly.
So, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like, and we'll get more into this as we get through the games, I feel like this relationship and this lore is kind of left hanging. There's not much to it after this game, which is kind of a bummer. Both characters still exist throughout the franchise, but, like, we'll get to it. But I just feel like there's not much resolution to this, unless I'm misremembering. But yeah, so...
Did you never play the post-game DLC where you go after Morrigan?
In this game, no. I think I only played the main DLC, the one where you you meet what's his name, your boyfriend,
Anders.
Anders, yeah. I played that DLC where you meet Anders and Justice and and those
That's
characters.
Awakening. There's a bunch of other DLC. There's Leliana's Song, which shows you what happened between Leliana and Marjolaine.
Uh-huh.
There's a Darkspawn DLC where you play as Darkspawn.
Huh.
And there's a DLC, Witch something, I can't remember. But basically, you go after Morrigan.
Interesting.
Because of, like, no matter what the events are of the final portion of the game.
Oh, right.
Morrigan,
She leaves. She leaves.
Morrigan
She disappears before the resolution of the battle, right?
Yeah. So you go after her.
Got it. Okay, no, I don't think I did that. So, I mean, we'll cover it. We'll have to figure out what order to do all of that in. I don't know the lengths of these. I know Awakening is practically a whole other game. So, like, that'll be possibly a season unto itself.
Yeah. I mean, I think the others can be, like, mini seasons. Like, mini series of episodes. We'll figure it out. It'll be fine. That's not for you, listener.
Yeah, a little production meeting in the middle of our episode. But anyway, yeah, so I guess that's why I never thought that was resolved, but we'll get to that. But this is really the only check-ins we have. When we begin the Landsmeet, we go to Arl Eamon's estate in Denerim, and we're immediately...
No, not in Denerim. You're wrong.
Oh, no, right. Sorry. We go to Arl Eamon in Redcliffe to have the conversation, and then he takes us to Denerim, to his estate. Yes.
You are correct now.
So we tell him that we want to start the Landsmeet. He takes us to Denerim, and within minutes of stepping foot in Denerim, Sourpuss Loghain is already there to share his displeasure.
Yeah, news travels real fast in Denerim.
A lot of nosy people, I guess.
Like, the speed with which these people find shit out, I'm just like, how do you know? Like, we literally just walked in, and Loghain's there being like, ha! Here to fuck up my entire life, are ya?
Yeah, along with Howe and Alexandria, I think is the other lieutenant.
Catherine. That's not
Catherine.
even close to her name.
No, I don't remember her having much in the game besides this moment here and like attacking us later. So
I mean, she had a very small moment at the very start of the game because she's she's Loghain's like second in command.
Oh, that's right. Well, that's why I barely deigned to remember her name. And we've seen Howe a lot more and talked about Howe a lot more. But yeah, so we're there and we can be. Were you snarky? Did you speak up when Loghain was running his mouth?
Yeah. Like, basically, anytime he said something that was blatantly untrue, and I was like, "You mean the opposite of that?"
Yeah, and Catherine or Howe would just yell at us, tell us to stop speaking.
So when we show up, we get this cutscene and we learn about Denerim being heart and soul of Ferelden, the birthplace of Andraste. And I love that Eamon describes it as stubborn as a Mabari.
Yeah.
Because I would argue that New York City is as stubborn as a Mabari.
That sounds about right, for sure.
Like, it feels like an apt comparison. Because while New York City isn't really a seat of power in terms of our government, it is the seat of social capital in a lot of ways.
Sure, and I would say that our being one of the largest cities in the country, one of the major cities in the country, there is some influence here a little bit. And I mean, I can also see Denerim as like a metropolis as far as this world is concerned, right? It's a major city, a major hub, and there's a lot of influence there. And I mean, there are a lot of politicians who come through New York who end up going on to have major seats of power within our federal government. So I can see the comparison for sure. Yeah.
So that's just how I feel, but it could be that I've been thinking about New York a lot lately, especially with my plans to come home in September. Yep. And also every time I meet somebody here in Northern Ireland, they're like, "Where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from New York." "Why did you come here from New York? How is it different? Tell me everything about New York." So I have to think about New York a lot. Yeah. I love you, Northern Ireland friends. I really, really do. They all ask about the podcast, and I'm just like, please don't dox me. Yeah, so Loghain shows up as soon as we arrive. He talks about how Enora is queen. I choose to say, well, if she's queen, then why isn't she here speaking out?
Yeah.
You have my sympathies. The wardens chose to turn against Ferelden. if I had been physically in that moment, someone would have had to hold me back.
Same. Absolutely.
Like, fuck you. How dare you? And then he starts picking at R.L. Eamon's ability to advise because of his illness.
Yeah.
And Eamon's like, call your poison by its true name. And this is one of those moments where I was like, does Logan really know? Does he know? I feel like he doesn't know.
Yeah. Because he just acts like it's an illness, and we know that Howe organized and orchestrated the whole thing.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if, like, in this moment, Logan, like, genuinely doesn't know that it was poison. No, like, fucking Howe. Did you call Howe a bootlicker? Because I did.
I did. And also, it wasn't until this mission that I realized who's voicing Howe. It's the one and only Tim Curry, which, like, I recognized his voice after the longer cutscenes later in this mission, but it didn't click until now. And we've seen him a few times, but there's that certain curl to his words that, of course, Tim Curry has in all his performances that I love, and he does a great job here.
Yeah, Howe is a more impactful character if you play the Koosland origin.
Right, because he's like the ruler of where you live or whatever.
He kills your entire family.
Right. Oh, right. Yes.
So he kills your entire family. So you have like a very good reason to fight back against Arl Howe. But like, he still sucks. He still sucks real bad.
Yes. Good villain. Well played villain.
And like, Eamon talks about how Alistair is the true king to the throne. And I'm like,
No. Maybe we let Honora rule. Let women have power.
You think so?
I mean, I don't know. I just like definitely not Alistair, our Labrador moron.
He's like, I'll fucking do it, I guess.
Yeah.
But he does not want to.
No.
And everybody's like, a reluctant king is the best king. And I'm like, I mean,
you
yes
said those words, though. Like, when talking about leadership, you and I have had in conversations, you say reluctant leaders are the best leaders. Cause...
Like, yes and no. Like, if someone who's like, I don't want power, but I am going to do my damnedest to make sure that everything is, like, operational and, you know, keep bad people out of power. But, like, I don't know. There's something about Alistair's reluctance. He's like, I'll do it because R.L. Eamon says that I should.
Right.
And that's not quite the same as I'll do it because somebody has to step up.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I don't think Alistair's the best choice.
I mean, also, this game kind of thrives on all mediocre choices. Like, not having a clear standout like some other choice-based games, which I think is important, actually, because you should have to deliberate and think about it instead of just Admiral Andersoning it all, you know, the obvious choice, as it were, that some of us didn't take and got ridiculed for. Yeah,
because you stood idly by. And then Logan engages in some really narrow-minded conservative thinking. There's nothing I would not do for my homeland.
Yeah.
Doesn't that remind you of, like, a lot of heavily Republican, right-leaning people who are just like, I would do anything for my country, including ruin the lives of the people I think are threatening it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with like nationalism is you care so much about where you're from or where you live that you ignore the rights of other people, the important things for that country, just to do what you think is best. And what you think is best isn't always, often isn't. And like, yeah, I mean, there's a difference between having pride in where you're from and where you live and being a nationalist, which is often resulting in violence and atrocities in the name of the place you're from, which aren't often necessary at all.
Yeah. And I think Logan is just so consumed by this idea of protecting Ferelden that he has forgotten that the people are also Ferelden.
Yeah.
Like, there is no Ferelden without the people.
Right. And in his mind, it's like protecting the place, but the intricacies of the place are less important. And that's what often happens in these kinds of points of view. You get so wrapped up in the broader picture that you forget about the minutia that make it what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So after that, Logan is gone, and Eamon is like, you should speak to some politicians and get to know what it is that the people need, and, explore and do some shit and get out of my face.
It's mostly an excuse for you to explore Denerim and finish up some quests. And I do say that I do want to say that I do like Arl Eamon. The more time we spend with him, the more I think, well, he'd be a really great leader, because he is seemingly a pretty great leader so far. Obviously not someone who can contend for the throne, but still, like, glad to be working with him now that he's conscious and a person, because he seems to actually know what he's talking about in a way that the rest of us don't really.
Yeah. And, like, Arl Eamon has a good sense of strategy, and he has a good sense of what to do in this situation. But I just don't think that he has a good sense of who Alistair is and what Alistair needs as a person. And like Logan, he is caught up in what is best for Ferelden and forgetting the people.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone here is a perfect leader. I think that's part of the interesting thing about figuring out the leadership for Ferelden.
Yeah. So, that being said, you want to do companion quests?
Yep, we have 2 left. We have Liliana's and Zevran's. Let's do Liliana's first, which you alluded to a little bit, but we find out more about Liliana's past as a bard, who trained her and abandoned her after one of those missions goes wrong, and it becomes now this quest to resolve that. So what happens is, when you're wandering after you finish Liliana's like narrative up until the point of getting the quest, you get ambushed in the woods or in the streets. You get ambushed somewhere when you try to travel again, and it turns out these were assassins sent to kill Liliana because Liliana's old mentor wants to silence her for good, because she ended up surviving the horrible encounter that she was betrayed and thrown into.
Right. So we know that the reason this all happened is because Liliana found out that Marjolaine was trading Orlesian secrets.
Right.
And Marjolaine framed Liliana and had her thrown in jail. So when this ambush happens and we fight everyone, Liliana tells us not to kill the ambusher, so that way she can find out who is behind the attack. And we're told, like, we were just told to kill the redheaded girl, which, obviously, Liliana.
Right.
That would be hilarious if both the warden and Liliana were redheaded. I don't think they would weigh in, and I don't think they would account for that in dialogue and be like, which one of us?
Yeah.
We are both redheaded.
Yeah. Be more specific.
But yeah, so specify.
I kind of wish if you had Ogren with you, which I didn't, but like he goes, well, I'm redheaded. Why did you try to kill me? Right. Which would be a dumb thing for him to say, because he's not even a girl.
Right. I'm a redheaded girl. I'm sure my beard is confusing. And we find out that he doesn't know who it is, but he gives us information, and Liliana is convinced it's definitely Marjolaine. Marjolaine's got to be behind it. Who the hell else would try and kill me?
Right.
We find out Marjolaine is hiding in Denerim in some warehouse somewhere. And it's not even a particularly hard confrontation. Like, we kill a couple of guards, we talk to Marjolaine. Marjolaine is such a bitch.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like calling fellow femmes bitches, but she is a bitch.
And she's completely manipulative. Even in the moments when you meet her, she's like, are you really going to trust Liliana? Do you know who she is? And saying it very, not flatly, but like with a lilt, like very like trying to seduce your ear. Not necessarily in a sexual way, but just in a like, believe me, come to my side. Like, she's a snake. And Liliana, of course, pushes back against it. And you can choose to back up Liliana, which I assume we both did.
Yeah.
And then like, she like essentially it kind of has no resolution here. Like Marjolaine says that, well, I'm just gonna go, like kind of just drops it, like,
yeah,
and swears that this is the end of it. And Liliana like at first doesn't quite believe it.
I mean, she doesn't swear that it's the end of it. She's like, she actually opposite is like, this isn't over. And
we're right.
And Liliana's like, No, I think it is. I think it actually is because she has now seen that, like, I don't give a shit about her anymore. And, like,
You're
I've
right.
moved
That's why I
on.
got it flipped, because I remember Liliana saying at the end, like, no, I think it's over. Which, if that doesn't sound like a denial, I don't know what does. But I guess.
No, I mean,
Liliana's also very confident in her abilities. I think that's part of it too. Like, she's kind of planting herself as like, this is done. Like, there's nothing else she can do to me.
yeah,
Kind of a thing.
I think that's more accurate.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't love this. It's boring.
Yeah.
Like, the outcome is really boring because we don't really have that hefty of a confrontation with Marjolaine. We can't bring her to justice. We can't really do anything except being like, hey, get the fuck out of our city. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's all that happens.
It's anticlimactic, and for Liliana being such an interesting character with an interesting past, this is a very uninteresting companion quest resolution. I mean, as we've discussed before, a lot of the companion quests are just kind of fine in this game. Some of them are interesting, but the majority of them just kind of stuff happens.
Yeah. I just wasn't a fan. I felt like it could have been better.
I agree. And I think I kind of feel the same way about the other companion quest we have here, which is Zevran's choice, which is we get ambushed by the crows. They come back for him. Did you have Zevran with you when this happened?
Yes, I did.
I didn't, and interestingly, he just shows up. Like you say, like, so you get cornered by a member of the crows, and they say, "Well, you didn't even bring Zevran with you." It's like, well, he's not here. You can take it up with us. And then he shows up. He's like, "But I am here." Haha. Basically.
I don't hate Zevran's kind of little companion quest here. Especially with what we find out from Zevran after it.
Right.
So I did have Zevran with me. We get attacked. Taliesin tries to convince Zevran, like, you can come back with me. We can make up a story. It'll be fine. Like, you can get your status back with the crows. And, you know, your warden can say anything like, Zevran, don't do it. Or, like, think about this. Or even, like, oh, but I'd have to be dead first, wouldn't I? Which is the choice that I took. And Zevran goes, and I'm not about to let that happen. So get fucked. I am not coming back.
Yeah, with me, I have one of the choices is Zevran's no longer with you. He's with us. And he pretty much is like, yeah, I am. And I'm not coming back. And then the fight breaks out. There were no romantic choices, which I was a little disappointed by.
Yeah, I feel like for you, there should have been a moment with Zevran where he discusses the fact that he has chosen you.
Yeah.
In a profound way. But I am sorry that didn't happen.
Yep. And then when you finish the fight, like, I really just wanted us to make out in celebration, and just not an option.
Make out over the corpses of your enemies.
Pretty much. I mean, is there anything more romantic than that?
What if we kissed over the corpses of our enemies?
New t-shirt idea.
New t-shirt idea.
What if we kissed over the corpses of our enemies? Is it kissing time?
Is it kissing time? It's always kissing time.
Yeah.
I'm putting this in our notes.
I have a feeling that's our episode. Well, it's a little long for the episode.
It's a little
title,
long for an episode title.
but it is good.
By Fall Out Boy.
By Fall Out Boy. But yeah, so...
Featuring Panic at the Disco.
No, they're not a band anymore. They broke up.
Featuring Brendan Urie.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, so that's the outcome because we actually developed our friendship with Zevran.
Yep. Yeah. And so when I first played this game, I didn't develop my friendship with Zevran. And when this happened, he turned on me and I had to kill him.
Yeah.
Which wasn't very fun.
Been there.
But yeah, no, I don't hate this quest. It just feels kind of like a nothing quest to me because my relationship with Zevran isn't like accounted for in it. And I kind of understand why. Like, if it's pre-scripted, like, I don't think in Alistair's outcome there was any different choices for you. So, like, I get that these companion quests may have been pre-scripted and at the time they weren't intertwining things. Mm-hmm. And if I remember back to Mass Effect 1, which is on par with this, like, I think there was some stuff like that, but they didn't have companion quests quite like this. You could get backstory and do missions, but like the only true companion quests were for the non-romanceable characters mostly. You could get like the armor for Rex and help that final mission with Garrus, and they weren't romanceable in that game. Rex still isn't romanceable, which is a great crime, but that's neither here nor there.
I was talking to someone recently about how horrible it is that you can't romance a Krogan or a Solarian.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
We still grieve. We
do. But we do have one more thing to cover while we're in Denerim. This is something I alluded to in a previous episode.
Yeah, I don't think we fully discussed it because I hadn't done it yet.
Right. And so I was really excited to discover one of my favorite characters from the second game, Isabella, is actually in this game. You encounter her at one of the bars in Denerim, and you can, as a rogue, learn a class from her, but you can as well have a conversation with her and find out about her.
I mean, I can still learn from her.
That's true. But it's just really cool to encounter a character, one of my favorite characters from a later game in this game. Just sort of like we discovered, like I never noticed Dagna was in this game my first playthrough either. And so like I think it helps having played the games, because I think I hadn't played 2 before this, and so like having those connection points are neat to go back and then rediscover.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really funny to encounter Isabella here because the voice is different, the appearance is different. It's like she's a completely different person. The only thing that is the same is that she does take control of her husband's ship. I think in 2 she never even mentions having a husband.
Yeah.
But I think it's very funny. And she will only teach you something if you can beat her at a game of Wicked Grace.
Yep. Which I did. It took a few tries, but I got there.
Did she proposition you for a threesome?
She did not.
She didn't proposition me either, but that is definitely a thing that she does. And I don't know what circumstances that happens under.
I mean, for me, it wouldn't have happened because I didn't have, when I first encountered her, it was our first time in Denerim, and I wasn't in a relationship with Zevran at the time. Yeah. So that might be why I didn't. I don't know why you didn't. Maybe just Alistair's not into that, though I find that hard to believe.
No, so from what I remember, she propositions you, and your companion, your like partner is just like, no. Or is like, depending on like if you hardened Alistair. Remember when I was talking about
right.
Like,
that's right. Yeah.
If you make him tough.
Yeah.
Because he'll only marry a Nora if you toughen him up.
Yeah.
And he'll only do certain things if you make him a tough boy. And that's one of the things that he'll do if you toughen him up. But I didn't toughen him up, so it doesn't even matter. It wouldn't have happened. But I remember her propositioning you, and I don't remember like what conditions that happens under.
Right. Yeah.
So, Wicked Grace, how did you handle it? Did you cheat?
Oh no, I didn't. I didn't cheat. I played honestly.
Did you catch her cheating?
I don't think I did. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I didn't. I feel like we just both played fairly, and I finally won.
I caught her cheating. Like, firsthand, I was like, boop, and she dropped some cards, and she was like, oh no.
oh no.
Oh no. You've discovered my secret. My secret cards that I keep up the sleeves that I do not have. Yes.
Well, that's not where she keeps them.
But yeah, it's like a cute little interaction. It's neat. It is more interesting to us because we've met Isabella in Dragon Age 2. We know who she is. We know who she has potential to be. She's not that crazy interesting in Dragon Age Origins when you meet her. Yeah. Like, the voice actress for her in this isn't great. Yeah. Like, she tries to flirt with you, and I'm like, I'm not feeling that. But the voice actress in 2, if she said those same lines, I'd be like, yes. Absolutely.
There's a reason in my first playthrough that I romanced Isabella.
I mean, I still think that's a bad decision, but okay.
Well, I did it, and I was happy with it. She does eventually come back, but anyway. Yeah, no, I mean, I think the reason Dagna is more memorable here is because I don't know if it's the same voice actress, but it's the same.
I think it is.
But either way, it's the same enthusiasm.
Yeah, and also the same character design.
Right, yeah, like her face is the same.
Like with Isabella, nothing is the same. Like at
Yeah.
all. Skin tone, face, hair, nothing. Like I can understand the costume being different because like they only have like 3 or 4 outfits per person.
Yeah.
So whatever. Okay, cool. Isabella covered. Back
Yes.
to the estate.
Yeah. And so when we get back to the estate, so I tell me about this. I'll probably discover it the next time I play. But you have notes here about Zevran telling us about his last mission with the crows because I didn't get this yet.
Okay, so I decided to try and check in with everyone to see if anybody had something to say about us being at Arl Eamon's estate.
Right.
Everybody had like a very passing, like, oh, this is nice. Look at this. It's nice to not sleep in the dirt.
Yeah.
Like comments like that. And the only person with new content was Zevran. And you could be like, so can you tell me about that mission now? Do you remember with the ashes where there was that ghost who had something personal to say to each of us? And
yes.
He approached Zevran. Zevran was like, yes, I do regret it. Fuck you. Okay.
Yeah. Like cut him off. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he tells us about that.
Got it.
And he tells us that like, yeah, I was, the best assassin, and I, like, fucked whoever I wanted, and it was great, and I bragged about it, and I, like, closed my heart off because love is for suckers, but then there was this woman, her name was Rinna, and she was fucking amazing, and she kind of broke through that, and we were all supposed to go on a mission together, and Taliesin convinced me that she was traitor. And I let him kill her, even though she begged me with tears in her eyes and told me that she loved me. And I
did get to hear this story.
You did?
I did, yeah. Mm-hmm. This sounds familiar, so now I remember, yeah.
And, he spits on her and is like, I don't care, you betrayed the crows. And, Taliesin kills her, and then they find out that she wasn't the traitor after all.
Yeah.
And it completely broke his heart.
Yeah.
And he wanted to die.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine being through something that horrific.
No.
And this poor man, no wonder he is the way he is. Because I understand hating yourself so much that you wish you were dead. That is what depression can be like for a lot of people.
Right.
And you do self-destructive behavior because you hope that's going to be what kills you. I did a lot of self-destructive things in my early to mid-20s with alcohol because, I hated myself that much.
Right.
And Zevran does self-destructive things because he hates himself that much.
Right. He plays it off as like he's carefree and all of that, but it's like a mask.
Yeah. And I think his time with the warden has finally broken him of all of that because he is now comfortable enough to talk about this trauma with you.
Yeah. And
air it out and finally be like, I am past that feeling of wanting to die. And now I want to be different.
Yeah.
And that's a huge, huge step.
Yeah. It's the most sincere conversation we have with Zevran the whole game. If you don't romance him, I had some others, but like still, this is definitely the most of them.
Yeah. So, poor man. I love him. I love Zevran so much.
Clearly, I do too.
Yeah. Like, he has such a good romance too. The outcome of his romance is great. And then there is Erlina, who is there to request help. She is Anora's handmaiden, and she lets us know that Anora has been kidnapped by Rendon Howe and is being held hostage on his estate.
Yep, and so we are asked and pleaded to go rescue her, which we agreed to do. I meant to bring this up earlier, but before we do the Howe's estate mission, I made an incredible discovery this past weekend.
What?
So I was listening to an old interview with Yuri Lowenthal, and he was talking about my best friend, Yuri Lowenthal, who's been on Funny Games a bunch of times.
Yeah, I know you and Yuri Lowenthal and your immense bromance, whatever. Come on. The good stuff.
He mentioned like voicing some of his favorite characters and like how characters have a life of their own even beyond what you expect. And he
voices
mentioned
Zev, right?
No, he voices Sandal.
Oh, okay.
And I'd never realized it. He mentioned Sandal in passing, and I went, "Is that Yuri?" And so I went back and I listened, and I can't like. Yuri is very well known for often doing a play on his own voice. Even when he does his character from Naruto, it's like a darker, deeper, but it's still his voice. His Spider-Man is very famously just him, kind of a little brighter, but him. And so I went back and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I never knew Yuri voiced Sandal. And so that discovery was really exciting.
So does that mean you're going to get Yuri onto our show?
So I'd like to. I'd actually reached out to Yuri earlier this year to come back on Fun and Games because Spider-Man 2 is coming out in October. But he's really busy, obviously, with the release of Spider-Man 2 coming out, and he's working on a bunch of other stuff. But I'm hoping for when we get to Dragon Age 2, because Sandal's in that as well, to bring him on and interview him and talk about being Sandal and like when a character you don't expect to get a life, like become a fan favorite, what that's like.
Yeah. I demand to know Sandal's secrets.
I mean, that's true because we never find out, and Sandal is obnoxiously absent from the third game, which is still a crime.
Such a crime.
I think a disappointment that Yuri shares as well. I think he was hoping to come back and voice Sandal again, but yeah. So that was a really fun discovery, and yes, as long as Yuri's schedule is amenable, I would love to have him on this show to talk about playing Sandal. And I mean, he's got a paragraph of credits in this first game because he's like a random Dalish soldier and like some other like human soldiers. Like he did a bunch of voices in this game as like small bit parts that I recognized, but like Sandal is like one of the big ones. That and Fenrir, he also is in the Dalish city. But yeah, that was fun to learn, so I wanted to share.
Cool.
But yes,
I'm gonna interrogate him.
Yeah, I know. That's fine. I'll warn him.
I need to know so much about Sandal.
But so we go to House Estate. Erlina says that she has disguises for us, which should get us in. But don't linger too long in front of other guards or whatever. Like people may recognize us, but because there are new guards all the time.
What pisses me off about these disguises?
What?
That she doesn't let us change into the disguises before approaching our House Estate.
Correct.
Like, we still have to fight a bunch of guards before we get in.
Yes, correct.
Like, why didn't you just give us the disguises?
Well, actually, I didn't have to fight those guards.
The first guards?
Yeah. She just distracted them and we snuck in.
No, not those guards.
Oh, the guards at the very entrance. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
when
I
you were
forgot about
sneaking
that.
around the side and they're like, somebody's sneaking around down
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Why didn't you just give us why didn't we just put on the disguises before we even approached the place?
Yeah.
Like, we could have looked like we were a contingent of soldiers. Like, why?
Yeah.
It made me very angry because there's no way to avoid them. I was like, what did I do?
Yeah. No, they just see you and attack you, and then you have to
and
fight
then
them.
she distracts the two guards. So you did put on the disguise.
I did, yes.
Okay, I also put on the disguise. And, it's fine. You walk around, you steal some stuff, you just avoid soldiers, and you're just like, don't look at me, don't look at me. I am not here. I am just a little guy. Just a little guy. It's fine.
And so you sneak in, we get to where Honora is being held, and it turns out not only is the door locked, but now it is also magically sealed, because of course it is. And so she says that the mage who sealed the door is with Hao, and the only way we're going to get the seal broken is to get to the mage and to Hao and get the key as well.
Yeah. I unfortunately did ruin my disguise before going into the dungeon. I walked into a room that I thought was the room I was supposed to go into because I was following the marker. Uh-huh. And there was a soldier and a maid, and it looked like the maid was getting down the business on this soldier. And I walked in, and he turned to look at me and was like, "Intruder!" And I was like, "Oh, I have to kill you now. Oh no, I'm sorry. I know you were about to get a blowjob, but them's the breaks, man."
Yeah, I didn't ruin my disguise. I made it to the dungeon, and then the minute you get to the dungeon, there's a guard
all
there.
bets are off.
Yeah, he's like, I don't recognize you. No one's supposed to be down here except Howe's men or whatever. I don't know. He said something dumb, and then I killed him.
Yeah, you just fight a bunch of guards. There's like nothing interesting to say about fighting the guards. I'm sorry.
Nope.
Let's see. We do witness a guard get fucking murdered in front of us.
Yeah.
Which, we kill guards, but this was brutal.
Yeah, neck snap. But we find out once they free themselves that it's actually another warden from a different part of the continent who was away that Alistair recognizes. Oh, I had Alistair, Wynn, and Liliana with me.
Alistair, Wynn, and Severin.
Okay. I don't want to bring my boyfriend. He just went through so much. I wanted to let him rest.
You want to give him a break.
Yeah.
You want to give him a little break.
Yes. And so
He's just a little guy.
He's just a little guy. But when this warden comes out, they recognize each other, and there's a sense of relief. I don't know if I wrote down his name. Is this Jader?
Riordan.
Oh, it is
Riordan of Jader.
A Riordan of Jader. So I wrote down part of it. And so after we free him and he gathers his things, we asked him to join us, but he says that he'd be not much use to us as he's still recovering. Although, I don't know, you seem pretty fit to take out that guard.
You just murdered a guy.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah. So he goes on his way, but he'll be important later.
Yeah. Or will he?
Or will he?
Spoilers.
And then we can continue further into the dungeon.
Yes. Let's see. I did think it was kind of hot the way Sir Riordan murdered that guy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, of course you did.
I just want to say anyone with a bloody dungeon in their home is a bad person.
Yes, agreed.
Let's see. I took no notes because I had nothing of interest to say. We did rescue this guy who was like, why did my father wait so long to have me rescued? And I was like, unless you're Arl Eamon's son, I don't know who the fuck you are.
Yeah, correct. There was I can't remember if this is after we confront
Rexel.
Yes, Rexel.
There's Rexel, an elf, a Templar, and Vaughn, who is former Arl Urian's son.
Yes.
So I freed Rexel, the elf, and the Templar.
Yes.
I told Vaughn that he can fucking rot.
Oh, same. The minute he said, yeah, it's the stupid elves, once he went on a racist tirade, I was like, yeah, okay, you're staying in here.
Yeah, he called me a fat whore when I walked away, and I was like, cool story, bro. Not the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, bye. Yeah,
Somebody,
I did the same.
Deliberately messaged me on one of my dating sites to call me a fat whore, and I was just like, cool story.
Yeah, what?
It was because he saw my status about dick being plentiful and of low value.
Yeah.
And he took offense to it.
Good for him.
I'm sorry that it's true.
Yeah.
A lot of other dudes messaged me to be like, yes, you are absolutely correct. So I was like, I know I am.
Men are dumb. Men are dumb. That's why I'm
not saying anything inaccurate. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that it's not as valuable as other things.
Yeah.
I.e., stop messaging me.
Yeah, leave me be. So after we do all of that, then we confront Hal. This is when it dawned on me that I was fighting Tim Curry, but I was okay with it. And then you fight, and there's a lot of mages in this fight. It was annoying.
I had 2 mages.
There were I thought there were more, but maybe it was just 2.
I went and I attacked one of the mages first because I was like, I'm not dealing with you.
Yeah.
And I thought there was only 1 mage, but it turned out there was a second one.
Well, the fight is fine. You kill him. You take his key, and
take his shit.
Yeah, and then you're able to go free Honora, who's wearing a guard outfit, also.
And also, you can make a Star Wars reference, which begs the question. You made the Star Wars reference.
So I did, and it's particularly funny because I go, "Aren't you a little short for a soldier?" And she says, "Is that supposed to be ironic? Because what am I?
Yeah,
I'm a dwarf." And I said that she's short. I think that's very funny.
That is funny. She says, haha, very funny to me. And, this begs the question. Is the world of Dragon Age just our world so far into the future that Star Wars is now, a legend?
I think it's just a coincidence and a gag that the developers put in.
I am now wondering.
Okay.
Is Dragon Age just that far into the future?
Okay.
Our world has been destroyed by Darkspawn.
It's not even Earth, though.
That you know of.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's someone's theory is that the planet that Dragon Age takes place on is in the Mass Effect universe.
It is in the Mass Effect universe.
Is it? Is that confirmed?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was very funny that when I say the line that she says, is that supposed to be ironic because I am tiny?
Yeah.
Very, very good.
But also she's taller than me, so I don't know why I got to say it.
Because dwarves are obviously much shorter.
Right. I feel like that's silly. See, that's also why I'm like, Like, are they knowingly making a Star Wars reference? Because you're like, remember the prophets, Star Wars?
Okay. All right. Moving on.
I'm also reading a time travel book right now. So.
Okay. All right. Cool your jets. So.
I'll cool your jets.
Please don't. Leave my jets alone. Anyway, after this, we are confronted by Sir Catherine.
In the name of the Regent, you are under arrest. How did you fucking know I killed him 2 minutes ago?
Seriously, how does word travel so fast in this town? And she's there with a boatload of guards. And my first thought was, well, there's no way I can do this. So I say, well, we can talk about this. And then Honora goes, really? We're going to talk? And I was like, yeah, you're right. Let's just kill them all. And then, of course, you lose. And I did. And when this is jarring to me. When you lose, it doesn't go to the game over screen. It just loads a screen with Honora going to talk to Hao with one of the companions.
Hao or Eamon?
Eamon, rather. Sorry. Right, Hao's dead. Eamon with one of your companions that's not Alistair, because Alistair gets kidnapped. Oh, one person gets kidnapped with you, I think. And so she's like, the warden's been kidnapped. We have to rescue them. And you're starting to form a plan. And it happened so suddenly. And I'm like, wait, but if I got kidnapped, how the fuck did Honora get away? I was protecting Honora. Like, how did she get out? So that was really jarring to me. It's like, if I got kidnapped, also, like, how did Liliana was in the cutscene. How did Liliana get out, but me and Alistair got kidnapped? I don't understand. Doesn't make sense.
So, you're right. It really doesn't, because in my version of events, Honora gets away, and she says that she had to sneak away from Sir Catherine. So I think in my version of events, Sir Catherine took her and left the guards. But I think I killed Sir Catherine. I don't know. I have no idea.
I have no idea.
So I think maybe some of the guards took Honora and Honora, like, snuck away from them. I don't know. Doesn't matter. So you got captured, huh? Yeah.
And so you wake up in the dungeon with Alistair, both in our skivvies, because the game likes to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we
like see you naked, perverted game.
But he's glad I'm awake. And then we start to talk. He's like, so what are we going to do? And you have the choice of either saying, let's break out of here, or I'm sure they'll rescue us. And if you say, I'm sure they'll rescue us, Alistair goes, oh, really? How do you see that happening? And it's just a clever dialogue way to pick the people who will rescue you, the rest of your party. And so I picked Sten and Wind to rescue me. My logic was, I need a healer if I'm going to be playing this portion. And Sten is one of my most geared out characters now, because I gave him like all of the good heavy armor and weapons, and he's got his sword. So that was my logic.
I'm so surprised that you didn't choose Shale for shenanigans.
So I forgot. Like, I just forgot to choose Shale. Shale would have been my preference, but I forgot. And actually, I don't regret it, because the banter between Win and Sten is absolutely incredible. So, do you want me to talk about the rest of how I got out?
Yeah, please.
So, then you cut to Win and Sten, and you approach the guards of the tower of Fort Dracon, and you have to pick one of them to spin a yarn to tell a story. And so I picked Win, and Win talks about how the Chantry has come with an abundance of scarves to donate to the guardsmen so they don't freeze during the cold months.
Hilarious, because she's old and she knits. And
they buy it. And they go to get the captain, and when they walk away, Sten's like, I cannot believe your tale worked. And then the captain of the guard comes back. You can then choose again who you want to talk. So I keep choosing Win. I keep doubling down. She spins the same yarn. He's like, oh, fine. We'll take your scarves. Just bring them into the main hall. And so we get to go into the main hall. There are more guards. And in the main hall, there's also their ballistas for some reason inside. I don't understand that bit. I think maybe there are windows they can aim them out of. But Sten stops us and like, well, I don't know how we're going to get through this doorway. I don't think your story's going to work again. And then the quest icon appears by one of the ballistas. So I go to the ballista, I click on it, it turns, I click on it again, and it fires into the far wall, and all of the guards go running, oh my god, what happened? And then you can sneak into the dungeon that way.
Amazing.
And then once you get into the dungeon, then you have to fight. And so I played it, like, from there, they're like, our stories aren't going to work anymore. And you fight your way through, cut down the guards, rescue the warden and Alistair, and then we just leave. Like, I guess it's implied that you got in. If you were able to sneak in, you can just walk out, which I think was great. And so it was actually a lot of fun to do that. I want to replay. I don't have a save scum, but I want to replay that mission just to see what other people do or say. Like, knowing that you spin a story, I want to do it as Zevran. I want to see what Zevran says, because it's probably got to be really good. But it was really fun. It's one of my favorite missions I've done in the whole game, because it's just, you can play as the other characters at any time, but for the most part, I just play as my warden because that's the point.
Right.
But it was fun to play as Sten, see the different two-handed warrior abilities, because I haven't played the class that way. Like, it was a fun moment to, like, have Wynn as an old woman tell this convincing, sweet story, and the guards just buy it wholeheartedly. It was very good.
Yeah, I won my fight.
Oh, amazing. Good for you.
So, I did not get kidnapped. I did not get trapped in Fort Dracon. I pass go, collect $200.
Amazing.
I show up at R.L. Evans, and Honora's there, and I'm like, you son of a bitch! How dare you? Because the conversation I had was, instead of being like, I'll stand down, I was like, I'm here to fucking save Honora.
Yeah.
And when Honora gets the opportunity to speak, she's like, thank God you're here. This person tried to kidnap me.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm just like, you suck so bad. I am so angry at you.
That didn't happen with mine.
Yeah, no. Well, because you have the option to be like, let's talk.
Yeah.
I chose not to say let's talk. I chose to just go straight to, like, Honora is right here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here doing your job, you dumbass.
Right.
And, like, to an extent, Honora has a point when she's like, I was wearing a disguise because I did not want my father's people to find me. And I was like, yeah, I know, but also I didn't want to get murdered.
Yeah.
And I thought I was less likely to get murdered if I was like, I'm here saving the queen.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, I could have fucking protected you. Maybe you put some faith in me or something. Whatever.
It's funny because this conversation bleeds into the final part of this conversation with Arl Eamon, because he's distrusting of Honora. And the way I went through it feels a little haphazard, but if I had known that Honora was going to try and sell us out, then it makes this all make sense. I mean, we do know that Honora is very powerful and very convincing, and like that's just known, so it's still founded, but the way you went through it makes the whole dialogue path feel more natural. The way I went through it feels, because all I got to see is her demanding that we be rescued. Something
that you probably forgot is that she does demand that the warden is rescued.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And Eamon says
and Alistair. Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, him too.
Like, I remember that.
Yeah.
Because I have done your path before.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I witnessed her selling me out, so I'm like, ooh. But, you know, she does make a good point, and I'm like, I will let it go, but I am not happy about it. And some other points to make about this conversation. She knows that her father is, like, crazy paranoid. She knows that he is not thinking logically. She knows that we need ammunition for the Landsmeet. And she gives us information about the drama going on in the alienage. So if something is happening there, we should find out, because that will help us with the Landsmeet. And she wants to join forces with us because she believes that she's a stronger candidate for the throne. And if we put Alistair on the throne, it looks like we're just trying to make a Grey Warden king. And she's kind of right.
Yeah, she is. And then after the conversation's over, she before she leaves, she says she'd like to speak to the warden in private and to come see her, which we'll cover in the next episode. But then after she leaves, Arl Eamon is like, I don't know that I necessarily trust Honora, but she's still an important ally to have. Just be careful. Like, he is very much concerned. I mean, part of it is he wants Alistair on the throne, but like also he does care. And he is concerned for us as well, and just doesn't want us to be hoodwinked. And so we stopped here, but after this, we will go talk to Honora and get the next stuff, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But I think this whole conversation, we're getting into the intrigue part of the game, which I think is some of my favorite stuff. I feel like the game takes a little too long to get here, but that's also depending on how much side stuff you do, which we've done a bunch. If you can make a beeline and finish this game pretty quickly, like the first Mass Effect, like the main missions are pretty condensed. But I really do love this part of the game. The whole back end of this game is batshit, the stuff that happens and the choices you have to make. And so I'm excited to get into that. But yeah, that's it for this episode. In the next episode, we're going to take on the Alienage and the rest of the Denerim quests, like the rest of the Denerim stuff here.
Basically, like, we're just gonna do our outstanding quests.
Yep. And then, like, we're getting close to the end of the game, or the end of this part of the game. But the awakening stuff, it's a whole other thing. We'll deal with it.
It'll be fun. It'll be fine.
It'll be great.
It'll be great. It's so good. So good.
Yes.
Anyway, if you like what you heard here, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook.com/ReignitePod. Or you can send us an email. We're reignitepod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter. I'm at Frankie B. Writes, and Matt is at Fun and Games Pod. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher if you can. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
Twitter? What's this Twitter? You're not going to call it X?
I'm sorry, I don't recognize it by that name. Yeah. I don't believe in dead naming except for Twitter.
Except for Twitter, yeah. That's pretty much the conclusion that I've come to on all of my other podcasts. I think Rachel said a variant of that on our last episode of Screen Snark, too.
Dead naming is wrong.
Unless it's Twitter. Except Twitter, yeah. I won't call them posts. They're tweets and retweets. Thank you and goodbye. Yes. We are members of the Certain Point of View Podcast Network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent event link to our Discord server on the website and join in the conversation. You can also find the links to rating and reviewing this show, the Discord server, and a bunch of other stuff in the show notes as well. So if you want a quick and easy way to find a way to join our incredible Discord server, you can just go through the show notes of this episode. Frankie, any personal plugs?
I continue to be but a humble PhD researcher in a new house that still needs some furniture. So if you like what I contribute to the show, kick me a few bucks on Venmo at FrankieBrad is hella rad, or you can check out my Amazon wishlist, bit.ly/FrankieMoved.
As for me, I actually have a favor to ask. So it turned out on Fun and Games, we had 2 Spotify feeds. For some reason, our show art was going to one feed, and then the other feed where all our ratings and reviews and what we were linking to didn't have the show art. Turns out we were linking to an old version, I think, and so all of the ratings that we had on our Spotify listing were on that one that got deleted. Now you can find the one that has all our show art and all of that stuff, but unfortunately we lost a ton of the ratings because we were linking to the wrong feed. So if you're listening to this show on Spotify or have Spotify, if you could take a minute, scan through a minute of an episode. It allows you to rate after that. Just rate our podcast on Spotify. It's Fun and Games Pod. Fun is in quotes. It'd be a big help because we lost a ton of our ratings during this nonsense. Libsyn helped me fix it, so I'm grateful for that, but what a huge pain in the ass. Also,
hell yeah, Libsyn.
This Friday's episode, as of when you're listening to this, if you're listening to this the day it came out, is with the incredible Jordan Miner, who wrote the book Video Game of the Year, where Jordan discussed a different video game of the year all the way back from Pong to present, and it's really great. There are tons of essays. It features a bunch of other games besides the main games featured for each year. It's a great read. Anyway, we interviewed Jordan, and he was a delight. So if you like video game books, if you like video game history, it's a great episode to listen to. We'd also like to thank Carter's husband for developing more amazing t-shirt designs that you can find through certainpov.com or on the Certain POV Teespring. Also, thank you to the same Carter's husband for designing each and every episode show art. Case has gotten really creative this year and has been open to feedback, as Case I don't think is as far as we are in Dragon Age. You know, a new baby will do that. And so I really love the show art that Case makes for us. So I just wanted to shout it out.
Yeah, we'd like to thank Radek Wade and Echoes of Oblivion for our theme music.
I got to witness Liliana singing this playthrough, which I had forgotten about, and Echoes of Oblivion, the singing that she does in our theme music, it mirrors Liliana's song from the game, which was really cool to hear in the game. It's like, it's our theme.
But now you know what I was talking about with, like, the Bard thing, right?
Yes.
At the D&D table.
Yeah. Totally. I also want to thank Red Spinks for our brand new logo. To see more of his incredible work, you can go to Chaos Does Art on Instagram. Also, if you haven't bought a t-shirt with our new logo on it, it's a personal affront to me and Frankie, and you should rectify that.
I know, right? It's a personal affront to art.
Yeah,
in
to
general.
Art.
Art!
Iron Giant reference. And yeah, all right, let's stop BSing. Let's wrap up the show.
It's not BSing, Matt. It's art!
It is art.
Anyway, I'm Frankie.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon. Remember, Grey Wardens.
In war, victory.
In peace, vigilance.
In death, sacrifice. Art!
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun. Whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.